A powerful black CEO, Naomi Carter, stops to help an injured soldier on a rainy highway, only to discover he's her missing brother, Sergeant Malik Carter, presumed dead for 5 years. Their reunion unravels a deadly truth. Naomi's company was secretly funding Project Helios, a military experiment that turned soldiers into human AI weapons. As they expose the conspiracy led by Colonel Grant, Naomi's empire collapses, forcing her to choose between saving her legacy or destroying the system that stole her brother's humanity. Through sacrifice, betrayal, and love, Naomi finds redemption, and learns that family, not power, defines true strength. The night was long, cold, and too quiet for the city. A sleek black Mercedes cut through the drizzle on the empty highway, its headlights slicing through sheets of rain. Inside, Naomi Carter sat behind the wheel, her sharp gaze fixed on the road, her mind miles away. She had just wrapped another investor meeting, another boardroom full of men who'd told her she was too ambitious, only to sign every deal she put in front of them. Carter Dynamics was on the brink of a multi-million-dollar defense contract, one that would make her company, and her name, impossible to ignore. But tonight, success felt hollow. She turned up the jazz on the radio, the soft hum of Miles Davis filling the car. The dashboard lights glowed against her brown skin, highlighting the tension etched across her jawline. Naomi Carter was the woman everyone envied. And yet, deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling she was running from something or someone. As she rounded a curve on the desolate highway, the headlights caught a shadow lying in the middle of the road. Her foot slammed the brake. Tires screeched. The car fishtailed slightly before stopping inches from the figure. "Jesus!" she gasped, gripping the wheel. Rain hammered the windshield as she leaned forward, squinting. It was a man. He wasn't moving. Heart-pounding, Naomi grabbed her phone and flashlight, jumped out of the car, and ran into the downpour. Cold water soaked through her blazer in seconds, but she didn't care. "Hey!" she called out, crouching beside him. "Can you hear me?" No response. The man was dressed in tattered fatigues, army-issued, mud-caked, torn across the shoulder. His left arm was wrapped in a blood-soaked bandage, the bleeding still fresh. His breathing was shallow but steady. Naomi's pulse quickened. She looked around. No vehicles, no lights, nothing but the whisper of rain and the wind cutting through the trees. She turned back to him and reached for his pulse. Strong. Alive. "Okay," she murmured. "I've got you." She took off her coat and pressed it against his wound to slow the bleeding. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, but from something deeper. There was something familiar about him. The shape of his jaw. The scar under his eye. The small mole near his temple. No, she thought. It couldn't be. She shined the flashlight on his face fully, and froze. Her breath caught in her throat. It was familiar. Too familiar. "Malik," she whispered, voice shaking. She stared harder, disbelief tightening her chest. It couldn't be. It just couldn't. Her brother had been gone for 5 years. Declared Kia during a covert mission overseas. No body recovered. No closure. Just a folded flag and an empty coffin. But now, lying broken on the asphalt under her shaking hands, was the same face she'd mourned. The same eyes she'd seen in every dream since that day. "Malik!" she shouted, her voice cracking through the rain. His eyes flickered open, confused, unfocused. He blinked against the rain, squinting up at her face. Then, in a voice hoarse and broken, he whispered, "Naomi!" She gasped, tears mixing with rain. "Oh my God! It is you!" He tried to move, but pain twisted his face. I didn't think." His voice trailed off weak. "Don't talk," she said, slipping an arm under his shoulders. "You're hurt. I'm taking you to a hospital." "No hospital," he rasped. "They'll find me." Naomi froze. "What? Who?" He shook his head, struggling to speak. "Please, just not there." Her business instincts screamed at her to demand answers, but her heart just saw her brother again. "Fine," she said softly. "I'll take you home." She helped him into the back seat, using one of her scarves to bind his arm tighter. His skin was cold, his breath shallow, but he was alive. Somehow, impossibly alive. As she started the car again, her hands shook on the steering wheel. She kept glancing at him through the rearview mirror, half afraid he'd vanish if she blinked. Her mind raced. 5 years of unanswered questions came crashing back all at once. Where had he been? Who had done this to him? And why had he looked so terrified when she said, "Hospital"? By the time she reached her penthouse in the city, it was nearly 2 a.m. She pulled into the underground garage and killed the engine. Malik was unconscious again, his head slumped against the seat. Naomi got out, rushing to his side. "Come on, baby brother," she whispered. "Stay with me." She managed to half-carry, half-drag him into the private elevator. Her heart raced with every second the numbers ticked upward. When the doors opened, she pulled him inside her penthouse, a modern high-rise apartment with glass walls and polished marble floors. Normally, it felt like power. Tonight, it felt sterile. She laid him on the couch, grabbed a medical kit from the cabinet, and began cleaning his wound. Old habits took over. Their mother had been a nurse before she passed. Naomi had spent her childhood watching her work, mimicking her hands. "Easy," she whispered as she disinfected the cut. "I've got you." He stirred, his voice low. "Still bossing me around, huh?" Naomi froze mid-motion, then laughed through a tear. "Somebody had to keep you alive. Guess nothing's changed." Malik smiled faintly, a ghost of the boy she remembered. But as she cleaned his arm, she noticed more. Faded bruises on his ribs. Scars that didn't look like battle wounds, more like experiments. And something else. A tattoo she'd never seen before, barely visible under the dirt, a symbol, an eagle wrapped around a circuit. Naomi frowned. "What is this?" Malik's eyes snapped open. "Don't touch it." The sharpness in his voice startled her. Okay, she said quickly. "Relax." He exhaled shakily, leaning back. "Sorry. It's not what it looks like." She looked at him, eyes softening. "Then what is it, Malik? Where have you been?" He looked away. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me." He was silent for a long time, staring at the rain streaking the glass. Then, softly, "They used us, Naomi. Soldiers. We were supposed to be protectors, but we became something else." Naomi's stomach tightened. "Who's they?" He met her gaze. "The same people you've been working with." Her blood went cold. "What are you talking about?" Malik nodded toward the shelf lined with Carter Dynamics awards. "Your company isn't just building defense systems. You're finishing what they started." Naomi froze. "That's not possible. I built those systems." "Exactly," he said, his voice weak but clear. "You built them using my data." Her breath caught. "What?" But before she could ask anything else, Malik's head slumped back. He was unconscious again. Naomi sat there, staring at her brother, the ghost she'd just brought back to life. And as lightning flashed outside, one terrifying thought echoed in her mind. What if bringing him home didn't save him, but doomed them both? The rain had stopped by morning, but the air in Naomi Carter's penthouse was still heavy, thick with disbelief and the faint metallic scent of blood. She stood by the window, arms crossed, staring at the skyline. The city stretched endlessly below her, shimmering and soulless, like everything she had built to protect herself from the past. Behind her, on the couch, Malik slept fitfully under a blanket. His breathing was shallow, his skin pale. Even in rest, his face carried tension, the look of someone who'd seen too much. Naomi turned, studying him. Every instinct told her to call an ambulance. But his words from last night echoed in her head. "No hospital. They'll find me." Her mind raced. Whoever they were, Malik had been terrified of them. And when he'd said she was working for them, it had shaken something deep in her. Carter Dynamics wasn't dirty. It couldn't be. She'd built it from nothing, fought every battle, bled for her name to mean integrity. And yet, a whisper of doubt crept in. The sound of Malik coughing broke the silence. Naomi rushed to his side, pouring a glass of water. "Hey, slow down. You're safe." He blinked at her, disoriented, eyes darting around the room. "Where are we?" "My place. Midtown." He tried to sit up but winced, clutching his side. "You shouldn't have brought me here." Naomi frowned. You were bleeding out on the highway. What was I supposed to do? Leave you there? Malik's jaw tightened. You don't understand. If they know you helped me, then let them come, she interrupted, her voice sharp. I've dealt with worse than a few bureaucrats. He looked at her, that old mix of admiration and exasperation flashing in his eyes. Still the same Naomi, always charging ahead before asking why. She folded her arms. Then explain it to me, Malik. What the hell happened to you? You vanished off the face of the earth for 5 years, and now you show up covered in blood talking about my company like it's part of some conspiracy. He rubbed his temples, his expression pained. You remember Colonel Avery Grant? Naomi's brow furrowed. The consultant who handled the first defense contract proposal? That's him, Malik said. He wasn't consulting. He was recruiting. For what? For Project Helios. The name sent a chill down her spine. Never heard of it. Malik gave a dark laugh. You wouldn't have. It's buried 6 levels deep in classified files. Biotech, neural mapping, weaponized cognition, they were building soldiers who could sync with AI systems. Make decisions faster than human instinct. Naomi frowned. That's impossible. Is it? Malik asked quietly. You built the core tech for their target acquisition prototypes, didn't you? The same algorithms that learn combat patterns in real time. Naomi froze. That tech was for drone defense. Civilian safety. Malik's gaze hardened. That's what they told me too. Until they strapped that same system into our helmets and started calling us the future of warfare. Naomi shook her head, her voice trembling. No, I didn't know. Malik leaned forward, gripping her wrist. You never read the fine print, Naomi. You trusted people like Grant. The contracts you signed gave them everything they needed. They used your code to control us, to turn soldiers into living weapons. She felt her stomach twist. Malik, are you saying? He nodded slowly. They experimented on us. I was one of them. The words hit her like a punch. She sank into the chair across from him, numb. You're lying. I wish I was, he said quietly. I was part of Unit 17. We were sent on an operation overseas, a test run, they said. Half my team never came back. The rest lost their minds. When I realized what they'd done, I tried to expose it. That's when they made me disappear. Naomi stared at him, her mind spinning. Why didn't you contact me? They monitored everything, he said. If I reached out, they'd have killed you too. Her throat tightened. And now? Why come back? Malik hesitated, his eyes flicking to the small tattoo on his shoulder, the eagle and circuit symbol she'd seen before. Because I found something. Proof. Files that tie Project Helios to Carter Dynamics, to your contracts, to Grant, to the entire board. But I lost them when they came after me. Someone inside your company is covering it up. Naomi's pulse pounded in her ears. Her whole career, her reputation, balanced on the edge of his words. I can't just take your word for this, she said quietly. I know, he replied. That's why I brought you this. He reached into his torn jacket and pulled out a small flash drive, coated in grime and blood. He held it out with shaking fingers. Everything I could copy before they wiped the servers. Naomi hesitated, staring at it. Plug it into your system, Malik said. You'll see for yourself. An hour later, Naomi sat in her glass-walled office, the skyline gleaming behind her. Malik rested on the couch nearby, pale but alert. She inserted the drive into her secure terminal. The monitor flickered. Lines of encrypted code scrolled across the screen before opening a hidden archive. Helios // protocol. Then came the images. Video feeds of soldiers in training, moving in eerie synchronization. Electrodes mapping brainwaves. Scientists watching from behind glass walls. And then, a series of data files labeled M. Carter_01, neural sync results. Naomi's blood turned to ice. That's me, Malik said quietly. They catalogued us like machines. She clicked on one more file, board authorizations, and saw the digital signature she'd been dreading. Her own. Naomi stumbled back from the screen. "No, that's impossible. I didn't sign this." Malik looked at her with something between pity and sadness. "You didn't. But someone used your credentials to do it." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "Who?" Before he could answer, the lights in the office flickered. Then died. The monitors went black. Malik tensed instantly. "They found us." Naomi's voice shook. "How?" He pointed at the terminal. "That drive's live. It's broadcasting. They traced it." A flash of headlights outside the glass wall caught Naomi's eye. Black SUVs pulling up in formation. "Get down!" Malik shouted. Gunfire shattered the window a second later. Naomi hit the floor, covering her head as glass rained down. Malik rolled off the couch, grabbing the sidearm from his belt. "Stay behind me!" he barked, firing toward the window. The bullets stopped as quickly as they began. Then came the sound of footsteps, calm, deliberate, entering the penthouse. Naomi's heart pounded as a familiar voice echoed through the broken glass. "Miss Carter. Sergeant Carter. I warned you both not to dig too deep." Naomi looked up. Standing in the doorway, flanked by armed men, was Colonel Avery Grant. His smile was polite. His eyes were not. Gunpowder hung heavy in the air, sharp and metallic. The city lights glowed faintly through the shattered glass, their reflection fractured across the marble floor. Naomi Carter lay behind her overturned desk, breath quick and shallow. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from the shock of seeing Colonel Avery Grant standing in her home. He looked exactly the same as she remembered from the early days of Carter Dynamics. Tall, immaculate, and unervingly calm. The kind of man who smiled while signing death warrants. "Grant," she hissed, peering over the desk. "You have no right." "Oh, Naomi," he interrupted smoothly, adjusting the cuff of his uniform. "You still think rights exist in my world." Behind him, 3 soldiers stood with rifles raised, all in matte black tactical gear, no insignias. Malik had taken cover near the side wall, gun in hand, eyes darting. Blood from his reopened wound darkened the sleeve of his fatigues. Grant's gaze shifted to him, the faintest trace of a smile curling his lips. "Sergeant Carter, you were always too clever for your own good." Malik's voice was rough. "You tried to kill me." Grant tilted his head. "You should have stayed dead." Naomi stood slowly from behind the desk. "What the hell do you want from us?" Grant's eyes flicked to her, cold and measured. "You have something that doesn't belong to you." Naomi frowned. "If you mean the flash drive, it's destroyed." Grant chuckled softly. "Destroyed? My dear, data never truly dies. It migrates. The moment you opened it, it synced to your company's secure servers. Every trace of Project Helios is now stored under your name." Naomi's stomach twisted. "You set me up." "You set yourself up," Grant said, stepping closer. "You were so desperate to be recognized, to prove you could play with the big boys. You built the perfect cover for us." He nodded to his soldiers. "Bring him." The men moved toward Malik. "Stay back," Naomi shouted, but Grant didn't flinch. Malik fired once, a warning shot that cracked past Grant's shoulder and splintered the wall. The colonel sighed. "Still so impulsive." He gave a silent hand signal. The soldiers fanned out. One lunged toward Malik. The gun went off again, grazing armor. A second soldier tackled him to the ground. "Stop it!" Naomi screamed, rushing forward, only for Grant to grab her wrist and twist it behind her back. Pain shot up her arm. He leaned close, his voice calm. "Don't make this ugly, Naomi. You've already lost." She glared at him, teeth clenched. "If you think I'm going to just hand him over." Grant smiled faintly. "Oh, I don't need you to. He's programmed to come back." Naomi froze. "Programmed?" Grant's gaze shifted to Malik, who struggled against the soldiers. "Your brother's not what he used to be." "Don't listen to him," Malik shouted, his voice strained. "Naomi, he's lying." But Grant's words kept cutting. "You think he escaped on his own? That was part of his conditioning. We let him run to see how far the tether would stretch. Naomi's voice broke. What tether? Grant's eyes gleamed. His neural link. The one you helped perfect. Naomi's knees went weak. No. Every thought, every heartbeat, every decision he's made since he escaped, all part of the simulation. He's not your brother anymore, Naomi. He's ours. Grant drew his pistol. Stop, she screamed. Don't touch him. He aimed directly at Malik. I warned him what would happen if he came back. Naomi lunged, grabbing the barrel. The gun fired, the sound deafening. For a split second, everything went white. Grant staggered back, his shoulder bleeding. Malik broke free, knocking out one guard with the butt of his rifle. The second soldier swung, catching Malik in the ribs, but Naomi kicked the man's knee out from under him. Malik finished it with a shot to the leg. Move! Malik shouted. They sprinted toward the shattered window. Naomi hesitated only long enough to grab the flash drive from the table. Naomi! Malik yelled. She turned. Grant was on his feet, blood running down his arm, raising his weapon again. Malik shoved her forward as a shot rang out. Glass shattered as they dove through the window, landing hard on the balcony below. Wind howled around them. Come on! Malik grabbed her hand. They scaled down the emergency ladder as alarms blared across the building. Below, black SUVs screeched into the loading dock, more soldiers spilling out. Underground parking, Naomi said between breaths. There's a service exit. By the time they reached the lower level, her penthouse above was engulfed in chaos. Red lights flashing, security alarms echoing through the garage. Malik staggered beside her, clutching his arm. We can't outrun them forever. Naomi stopped beside her car, a matte black Aston Martin. We don't have to. We just need to disappear. She unlocked it with a click. The engine purred to life. As they sped out of the garage, bullets pinged off the rear bumper. Malik returned fire through the open window, shattering a headlight on one of the SUVs. Where are we going? He shouted over the roar of the wind. To someone who can help us, Naomi said. Ethan Shaw. The business partner. He knows the systems better than anyone. If anyone can decrypt what's on that drive, it's him. Malik frowned. You trust him? Naomi's jaw tightened. I used to. They drove 2 hours out of the city, deep into the industrial outskirts where Carter Dynamics' private testing labs were hidden. The massive steel facility loomed ahead, cold and silent. Naomi parked under the security lights, scanning the shadows. Ethan said he'd meet us here. Malik looked uneasy. It's too quiet. They approached the side entrance. Naomi swiped her keycard. The door beeped open. Inside, the corridor lights flickered. The hum of machinery echoed faintly. Ethan! Naomi called out. No answer. They stepped into the main lab and froze. Rows of empty test pods lined the walls. Each one bore a label. Helios V1, Helios V2, Helios V3. Naomi's stomach dropped. Oh my God! At the center of the room, a figure stood behind a glass console, hands folded, face pale in the fluorescent light. Naomi, he said softly. Ethan. She moved closer. What is this? He sighed. The truth. Malik raised his weapon. Step away from the console. Ethan shook his head. I told you not to come here. You don't understand what you're doing. Naomi's voice trembled. You were part of this. He hesitated. I tried to stop it. But Grant owns everything. Every patent, every design, even your name, Naomi. They've already erased you from your own company. Her pulse pounded in her ears. You knew Malik was alive? I didn't know he was alive, Ethan said quietly. Only that his DNA was being used to finalize the next phase. Naomi's heart froze. Next phase. Ethan turned the monitor toward her. On the screen were 2 profiles side by side. M. Carter under 01. Active. N. Carter under 02. Pending synchronization. Malik's expression darkened. What the hell is that? Ethan's voice broke. They didn't just use you, Malik. They cloned your neural pattern. Naomi, you're next. Naomi staggered backward, her entire world cracking like glass. Behind them, the security lights flared red. The lab doors sealed shut. Malik grabbed her hand, eyes wide. They're coming. And above them, through the loudspeaker, Colonel Grant's voice boomed again, calm, merciless, and certain. Welcome home, Miss Carter. Project Helios is ready for its final test. The red lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Alarms echoed through the steel corridors as Naomi Carter and her brother Malik stood trapped inside the cold, humming laboratory, the same one that now felt more like a tomb. Above them, Colonel Avery Grant's voice oozed through the speakers, smooth and sharp like a knife dipped in honey. It's poetic, really. You built the empire that's going to consume you, Miss Carter. You gave us the world's first self-sustaining cognitive weapon, and didn't even know it. Naomi's pulse thundered. She turned to Ethan Shaw, her former partner, who stood frozen near the console, the light from the screen casting shadows across his face. Tell me he's lying, Naomi demanded. Ethan's expression was haunted. He's not. Project Helios was always meant to end like this. The human prototypes were never the goal. The real goal was integration. Integration. Malik growled. With what? Ethan's voice cracked. With you both. Naomi took a slow step back. You're insane. Ethan looked at her desperately. Listen to me, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Helios was meant to protect humanity. The algorithm could anticipate war before it started, prevent conflict. But Grant twisted it. He realized that if he fused human intuition with machine learning, he could control not just wars, but entire governments. Malik's jaw clenched. So he experimented on soldiers. On me. Ethan nodded miserably. You were the first viable subject. Your neural patterns bonded perfectly with Helios. You survived what none of the others did. But it wasn't enough. The system needed a second half. A balancing consciousness. Naomi's voice shook. A second half. Ethan met her eyes. Your brain scans matched his. Your siblings, same neural resonance. You're the missing key. The system was designed to sync you both, human empathy and tactical cognition, into one network. Naomi stared at him in horror. You're telling me they want to merge us? Ethan's silence was answer enough. Malik grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the glass console. You knew this, and you still brought us here. Ethan gasped, struggling to breathe. I didn't have a choice. Grant's been tracking every move I make. If I didn't deliver you both here tonight, they'd have killed me. Naomi's voice was ice. Then maybe you should have let them. Malik threw him aside. Ethan collapsed, coughing, blood at the corner of his mouth. Naomi, Malik said, grabbing her hand. We need to destroy this place. Everything. The servers, the data, all of it. Naomi nodded, eyes hardening. How? Ethan wiped his mouth, trembling. The Helios core. It's below us, sealed behind biometric locks. If you overload the power conduits, you can trigger a meltdown. Then we do it, Malik said. Ethan's gaze flicked to Naomi. You'll die. Naomi met his eyes without flinching. Then I die knowing it's over. They moved quickly through the corridors, Malik limping but steady, Naomi leading the way with the stolen keycard Ethan had given her. The alarms continued blaring, a shrill, mechanical heartbeat echoing through every step. As they descended the stairwell into the lower levels, Naomi felt her world unraveling around her. Every polished deal, every contract, every moment she believed she was building something good. Now she saw it for what it was, a shell. A puppet company dancing to the strings of the military-industrial machine. And she had been the perfect puppet. The door to the Helios core was a massive vault of black steel, its surface pulsing faintly with blue light. Naomi placed the keycard against the scanner. It beeped twice, access denied. Malik swore under his breath. We need his biometrics. Naomi turned to Ethan. You said this would work. Ethan hesitated. It needs Grant's authorization too. The system recognizes his DNA. Naomi looked back toward the elevator shaft, her mind spinning. Then we bring Grant to it. As if on cue, the The speakers crackled again. "No need to trouble yourselves," Grant's voice purred. "I'm already on my way." The elevator doors opened behind them. Grant stepped out, flanked by 2 armored soldiers. His arm was bandaged from Naomi's earlier gunshot, but he looked unshaken, even amused. "Predictable," he said. "Every time, you people make it so easy." Malik raised his weapon. "Try me." Grant smirked. "You won't shoot me, Sergeant. Not with her standing there." Naomi stepped forward, fury burning in her eyes. "You destroyed everything I built. Used my brother, used me." "Why?" Grant tilted his head, almost pitying. "Because the world doesn't change through morality, Naomi. It changes through control. You built a system that could save millions, and you were too naive to realize salvation requires obedience." He moved closer. "Helios was meant to end chaos. You and Malik together are the final calibration. Humanity's emotion, bound by machine precision. You'll be gods." Naomi spat the words like venom. "No. We'd be slaves." Grant sighed, almost disappointed. "Then you leave me no choice." He nodded to his men. They raised their weapons. But Malik was faster. He fired first, a clean, sharp burst that dropped both soldiers. Grant turned in shock, but Malik was already on him, tackling him hard into the glass console. They struggled, blows landing fast and vicious. Naomi grabbed the nearest crowbar and slammed it into the access panel. Sparks exploded. "Naomi!" Malik shouted as Grant elbowed him across the jaw. She ignored them both, forcing the exposed wires together. The console screamed as the lights across the vault flickered from blue to red. The core chamber rumbled, the sound of containment fields breaking. Ethan stumbled back, eyes wide. "You did it. The system's destabilizing." Grant roared, slamming Malik against the wall. "You think you can destroy perfection?" Malik spat blood. "Watch me." He drew his knife and drove it into Grant's chest. The colonel's breath caught, a mixture of shock and rage. As Grant collapsed, his blood spread across the floor, and the scanner beeped. "DNA recognized. Authorization complete." Naomi stared, stunned. "It's reading his blood." The vault doors groaned open. Inside, the Helios core glowed like a living sun, a massive sphere of light and cables, pulsing with energy. The hum filled their ears, vibrating through their bones. Malik limped forward, gun still in hand. "How do we overload it?" Ethan pointed to the conduits running along the walls. "Manual override. But if you cross them, we die." "Yeah, I figured," Malik said. Naomi grabbed his arm. "No. I'll do it." He looked at her, eyes fierce. "You've done enough. You're getting out of here." "I'm not leaving you again," she said, voice breaking. "Naomi." "Malik, please." Tears welled in her eyes. "You saved me once. Let me do this." He hesitated, and for a heartbeat, she saw the little brother she used to protect from bullies in the old neighborhood, the boy who followed her everywhere. Then he smiled softly. "Always the boss." He handed her his sidearm. "If it doesn't work, make sure no one gets this tech again." She nodded. Malik turned to the core and ripped open the control box. Sparks flew. Energy roared like a hurricane. He reached for the final switch. A gunshot cut through the noise. Naomi froze. Grant, bleeding, half-conscious, had fired one last round. The bullet hit Malik square in the chest. "No!" Naomi screamed, running to him as he fell. He smiled weakly, blood on his lips. "Finish it, sis." Naomi turned to the console, fury and grief colliding into something unstoppable. She slammed the override. The core exploded in blinding light. The shockwave tore through the lab, ripping walls apart. Naomi shielded Malik's body as the world dissolved in fire. When the light faded, silence reigned. The Helios facility was gone, nothing left but smoke and scorched earth. Somewhere in the ruins, a faint voice whispered through a broken comm unit. "Project Helios, offline." Naomi Carter stood in the ashes, her brother's dog tags in her hand, and the rising sun breaking over the horizon. She had destroyed everything, her empire, her reputation, her legacy, but for the first time, she felt free. And though her heart was shattered, one truth remained unbroken. She hadn't lost Malik again. Not really. The world was silent after the storm. For days, the news called it a containment accident. A tragic malfunction in Carter Dynamics' main R&D facility. No mention of Project Helios, no mention of soldiers turned experiments, and certainly no mention of Naomi Carter or her brother, Sergeant Malik Carter. Just another file sealed under national security. But Naomi knew the truth. She had lived it, and it had burned her life to ashes. 3 weeks later, Naomi stood at the edge of the Mojave Desert, the wind tugging gently at her coat. Behind her, miles of twisted metal and charred concrete marked what used to be the Helios compound. Now it was a crater. She knelt and placed Malik's dog tags on a piece of blackened rubble. The metal was still scorched, the letters faint but readable. M. Carter, U.S. Army. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "You did it, baby brother. You stopped them." She closed her eyes, fighting back the tears that kept threatening to spill. For so long, Naomi had been a machine, the CEO who didn't cry, didn't break, didn't falter. But standing there in the silence, she finally let herself grieve. She remembered Malik's laugh, the way he used to sneak into her room as a kid to play her old records, the way he used to say she'd fix the world one day. She smiled faintly through tears. "Guess we both did our part." A car engine hummed softly behind her. She turned to see Detective Alina Brooks, the woman who'd been investigating the explosion. Her coat flapped in the desert wind, her expression somber. "I figured I'd find you here," Brooks said. "You shouldn't be this close to the blast site. They still haven't cleared all the radiation pockets." Naomi gave a small, humorless laugh. "Radiation's the least of my problems." Brooks approached slowly, her boots crunching on the sand. "You're a hard woman to track down. Half the country thinks you're dead." "Maybe it's better that way," Naomi said quietly. The detective studied her for a moment. "You could have run, Naomi. You had the money, the contacts. But you stayed." Naomi shrugged. "Running means leaving him behind. I'm done doing that." Brooks sighed. "You know they'll bury this whole thing. The Pentagon's already wiping records. Grant's name won't even make it to the papers." Naomi's expression hardened. "He's already buried. I just made sure the world knows what he built dies with him." Brooks nodded slowly. "You took a risk exposing what you did. Leaking those files to the press." "I didn't leak them," Naomi interrupted. Brooks frowned. "Then who?" Naomi looked out over the horizon. Malik set an auto-transfer before the core melted down. Everything went public before the servers fried. Project Helios, the soldier trials, the AI experiments, all of it. He made sure no one could hide it again. Brooks blinked. "Then he really did it." Naomi's lips curved into a sad smile. "He always finished what he started." Back in Los Angeles, Naomi's once mighty empire had been reduced to ashes. Carter Dynamics had been dissolved, its assets seized, its CEO branded a security liability. Her name, once synonymous with innovation, was now a whispered cautionary tale. But Naomi didn't care. In a small, worn-down apartment far from the city skyline, she rebuilt quietly, not a company this time, but something purer. A foundation. The Malik Carter Initiative. Its purpose was simple: to support veterans and whistleblowers who had been silenced by the very systems they once served. The irony wasn't lost on her. The woman who'd once armed governments was now funding the people they'd broken. But in a way, it felt like redemption. Late one night, Naomi sat at her desk, surrounded by papers and reports. The faint glow of a single desk lamp painted her face in gold and shadow. She opened her laptop to review a new message that had appeared in her encrypted inbox, one with no sender, no traceable source. The subject line read, "We're still watching." Her stomach clenched. She opened the message, expecting threats or demands. Instead, it was a single line of text. "Did you think we'd let the sun die so easily?" Attached to it was a file, labeled Helios_02. Naomi stared at the screen, heart pounding. For a moment, she considered deleting it. But then she noticed something else, a timestamp. It was recorded after the explosion. Her pulse quickened. No. She double-clicked the file. The video feed flickered to life, grainy and unstable, but real. It showed a white medical room, a heartbeat monitor, and lying on a bed, hooked up to life support, was a man. Bandaged, bruised, but unmistakably alive. Malik. Naomi's breath caught. Oh my God! The feed glitched again. A voice, distorted but familiar, came through the speakers. Naomi, don't stop them. Promise me. The screen went black. Naomi sat frozen, staring at her reflection in the dark monitor. Malik was alive. Somewhere. And Helios, whatever fragments of it had survived, wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, Naomi drove out of the city under a blood-orange sunset. The world had moved on, but she hadn't. The wind swept across the desert, carrying whispers of dust and memory. She pulled over at the same spot where the Helios facility had once stood. The ground had been flattened, rebuilt, fenced off, government property again. Naomi stepped out, the heat pressing against her skin. She looked out at the barren land and whispered, "You didn't die for nothing." Then she turned and walked back to her car. On the passenger seat sat a small leather folder embossed with gold letters, the Carter Foundation, Project Dawn. Her eyes hardened with resolve. If Helios had survived, then so had she. And this time, she wasn't building an empire. She was building a shield. For Malik. For the truth. For every soul that power tried to erase. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Naomi Carter drove into the twilight, the hum of her car fading into the wind, her eyes set on a future she refused to let be written by anyone else. Because this time, she wasn't following the rules. She was rewriting them.